in. Y'all come on in. Hey, Kristen. My hair survived. This is my Christmas hair, y'all. Child, this technology is a bear. Do that. Hey, JJ. Thank you for the hearts. I feel like I need to do something. Do I need to do something? I'm scared to touch anything. I don't mess around and do something goofy. Y'all share. I'm going to add a comment, I guess, for my title. How about that? Let's do that. There you go. All right, y'all share. And I'm gonna YouTube, not YouTube, child, Facebook. Y'all come on in. Come on in. Y'all come on in. Sending invitations. Y'all come on in and share. We're gonna get started in just a little bit. I wish there's one you can just hit select all. This is taking a long time. In just a minute. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. I'm going to share this one more place and then we're going to get started. See, this is why you need a social media person. That's why I got teary. Child. I'm supposed to post it. There we go. All right, we are going to get started. Turn my speaker off. If y'all want to know who that is, this Yon Hunter. It's this. If y'all watch the open house, that was the dude's music that I played. Okay, I'll make sure that I tag him. All right, y'all. First of all, how y'all doing? Thanks for coming on in and sharing and all that good stuff. My name is Sonia Jones with GIP Financials, your Mr. Me, I'll give money. And I want to talk about best practices for hiring employees. So thank y'all for coming in. And I'm not going to touch anything else because I don't want to tear it up. So let me kind of give you guys some context about the Instagram Live. One, And it's just so funny how God works. So I had a meeting with Tierney yesterday, and Tierney was like, you need to start talking more about relevant topics and how it, pertains to business, bookkeeping, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yes, ma'am. Was not aware that a couple of hours later, my coach, Pastor Sean Strickland, sent a link about an article, well, not an article, a TikTok video that she saw. And she wanted to know if the tax implications and the strategy, if it was legit, right? And so I looked at it, and after I reviewed it, there was some questions, some gaps that I felt needed to be addressed. So hold on, I see something. I don't. Will someone joins? Anyone who can see their live videos can also watch this one. I don't want to be in the video. Okay. So Jay, I hope you saw that. I guess I gave you access. I don't know what that means, but there you go. So I hope you got it. So with that being said, I was looking through what the scenario was regarding Glorilla and her desire to hire an assistant. And so, me, I took notes, and I guess of course, with social media, people are going to people be peopling. But the response that she gave, the mama in me kind of, rose up, and, folks are going to give their opinion about things. But she said, and I quote, "I can't wait till my culture comes together and just shows love to one another. It's like we tear each other down more than anybody else, and it's wicked." And that part touched me, because in social media land, we do a whole lot of finger pointing, but not a lot of, crown straightening, right? And a lot of people are reactive and are not informed, And so I just wanted to make sure that's why I put in the caption this morning, like, this is not, you're not getting any tea. This is basically informational. This is actually a case study. I would love to treat this as a case study, and is as if I was sitting down with Glorilla to kind of provide guidance and guiding questions to make sure that she's making proper decisions, because we don't know what she needs, and then most importantly, we don't know what her financial situation is. So stay your tail out of both pockets. I just want to say that the mom in me, like, you gotta get at the girl business, right? So there were a couple of things I just wanted to unpack. First of all, this setup, if you saw it, is a hot mess. I got wires everywhere, but I got my notes right here. So if I'm looking down, and I'm 43 years old, so I'm looking. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? And this is gonna be, because I'm doing my good teacher, so it's gonna be at least 45 minutes to an hour. I'm just letting you know off the top. So if you got to pop off, my plan is, as soon as I finish, hopefully I'm gonna do whatever it takes to save it. I'm gonna give it to Tierney, and then Tierney gonna put it on YouTube. So Tierney, if you're on here, I hope you heard it. All right, so just to kind of give you context about the video that is being referenced. So they talked about Glorilla wanting to hire an assistant, and her desired salary for the assistant was $550 a week, the equivalent of $26,500 gross. That's before taxes, right? And so the guidance that was given on the video was, instead of paying someone that salary, to take a look at what the contract is. And I'm guessing, based off of the context, that the person was talking about Glorilla's, I guess, performance contract. So, and the example that was used was, say, for example, the contract was $500K. Of that $500K, about $200K would be owed in federal taxes. Instead of giving that $200K in taxes to the IRS, to use that same amount in tax deductions, meaning in one of the examples that they used was to pay that person a higher salary and then write off that salary at 100%. And so I was like, okay, got it. So like one of the things that we do at GIP Financials, GIP stands for Getting in Position. We specialize in fundamental business finance education. So there's a good chance, 9 times out of 10, we don't take anything at face value. We're going to ask questions, right? So one of the clarifying questions that I wanted to ask if I was in front of this individual that gave the advice was particularly about the contract, right? Because these types, especially when it comes to hiring people, it can be really, really convoluted. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can hinder you on the back end, right? So let's get into it. And first things first, I guess the negative part in the comments was about, of course, the low salary, but we're going to talk about all the things regarding employees, right? So I wanted to make sure that I knew a little bit about Glorilla. I knew she was from Memphis, and I know that she's a rapper doing her thing. But what I did not know was she's 23 years old. So our oldest son is 23. So that's, I guess, where the mom and me came up. And then also she is a charter school graduate. And for those of you who know me, I still work a 9 to 5. I'm a charter school administrator. So that was near and dear to my heart also. So first things first, let's just dive in to this thing, shall we? So when you're thinking about hiring people, first thing, you got to check your finances. You got to know how much assistance you can afford to hire, right? Just because, especially in this case, just because Glorilla is an artist, we don't know what her financial situation is. We don't know how much she's profiting, right? And what all that entails, right? If that, in my opinion, if that particular salary was so specific, I feel like she was advised to give that, right? So, and then another thing that I wanted to talk about also is the difference between profit and cash on hand, right? So going back to the example about the 500K contract, I wanted to talk about it in two different scenarios because this is the part that needed clarification for me. So the example used was if Glorilla had a 500K contract, meaning that's 500K gross revenue. Maybe she was, performing at a concert or doing something. And if that was the gross revenue, it would be assumed that it would be taxed, at a particular tax rate and all that good stuff. So I got that information here. So here's scenario one, right? If this 500K contract is what it is, the business taxable income is based off of how many deductions you take, right? So that would be my first concern, because the way it was discussed in the video was as if the 500K was the ending income for her, the taxable income for her. So there's a good chance that if this 500K was the beginning of, said project, there will be several deductions that could, one, either lower that 500K to a taxable income of anything below that, or it could even out to zero. Hopefully not, because the purpose is to profit, right? And then also scenario two, like I said before, if the 500K was the taxable income, the adjusted gross income, because she is single, as far as I know, she's single, the 2022 tax rate is 35%. So if her taxable income was 500K, multiply that by 35%, that would be 175K, right? So this is where your business entity is going to help you out here. So we don't know what type of business entity structure Glorilla has, right? So if she's I won't assume that she's an S corp. Because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here in possible net profit, if not millions, right? So one, if she is an LLC, then that's a big red flag right there, because she's paying too much in taxes. So that was the first thing that I needed clarification on, right? So in the event your taxable income is going to be whatever your gross revenue is minus whatever your expenses are, right? And also, when we're talking about the difference between profit and cash, again, profit is gross revenue minus expenses. Cash is what's actually in your account. There's a difference. And especially if you are budgeting and doing forecasting, like you're planning out your business expenses, what you have for the month in profit in a lot of cases won't necessarily reflect what you have in cash on hand. So we have to be very, very intentional about the language that we're using here, right? So say, for example, if, Glorilla had this one project, right? That was, I guess for easy math purposes. And I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator here. So if she had, say this was $500,000 for the year. We divided by 12, that's $41,667 a month, right? So if we took that $500K and divided that $41,667 for January to December, she would have to budget whatever her expenses are to see what her actual profit is going to be. Now, we know because she is an artist, this is not the only revenue that she's going to have. But since this is the example, this is what we're going to use, right? And so, if that is the case, what if she gets that $500,000 in January? That's got to, hypothetically speaking, it has to last until December, right? So in that case, that means she should not ball till she falls with that $500K because whatever expenses that she has for the remainder of the year, especially if we're talking about hiring employees, you got to do something with that cash. You got to save it, put it in a different account, something to make sure that you preserve your cash flow. Preserve your cash so you can maintain cash flow so you can pay your expenses. Right? Makes sense? Okay. So, and then also when we're talking about cash, the cash is what's actually in the account so you can pay yourself. And I'll use myself as an example. I still work a 9 to 5. So with GIP Financials, my lifestyle comes out of my 9 to 5. I'm primarily using GIP to pay off debt and getting ready for my big transition and making sure I take care of all of my expenses. So in that regard, I have a reserve in my 9 to 5. But if you're a full-time business person, what's in the cash that you have in your account is going to be critical. That's why if you are a service-based business and you're invoicing people, that accounts receivable, you should, if you can, not have any outstanding invoices, because that income should be in your bank account. And every time that you're allowing customers to kind of delay, if you have a net 30, fine, right? But if those bills are outstanding, then you got to try to find some creative ways to get that cash into your bank account. Okay? And the next thing, what's the industry standard for an entertainment assistant, executive assistant, or whatever the title is, right? In the event when we're talking about the entity of the S Corp, if you are a business owner, best practices, if your taxable income is above 40K, you may want to consider changing your entity from an LLC to an S Corp, because it's going to help you save money in taxes, primarily in self-employment taxes, because what happens is you are required as the owner to be on payroll, right? And so, say for example, if we're still using Glorilla's 500K, right? In the 500K, if she is paying herself $100,000 a year, right? she will put that $100,000 on payroll, and she will be obligated to pay whatever comes out of that W-2. The remainder of her profit, that $400K, will be a flow through to her business, and she can just do what she needs to do in business operating expenses, right? So that's what that means. So that's why I was saying entity plays a big part in how you handle your finances. And then also too, you have to be clear in what you need and the skills required for the desired task. Now, Glorilla had a job description. It was extremely thorough. I did see her reply about, I think it was on Twitter or somewhere on social media, where she was basically saying, you don't even have to do half the stuff that's on the job description. I would say it's best practice that whatever you expect that person to do, whether they might not have to do it up front, it's good to go ahead and communicate that anyway, so that person can be prepared. So I would say kudos to Glorilla One for having a job description and already having a salary, because that weeded out a lot of people all together, right? So it's good to go ahead and put those expectations up there, out there up front. And I think I also saw in a thread that she said, given the demands of this job, it may be better if you did not have children, right? Which I agree, because you got to do a lot of ripping and running unless there's going to be a benefit, for homeschooling or traveling tutors or something like that. It probably would not be ideal for a parent. Well, I say a parent with school-aged children. If you are an older adult and your kids are grown, go for it. So that's another thing. You have to be very cognizant of whatever you desire from said employee. You got to make sure that you are compensating based off of the level of skill that you want. Now, let's just be honest. $26,500 is not probably going to get you the level of assistant that's probably going to anticipate your every need. Glorilla's going to have to basically walk with that person to get that person to understand what she needs and how she likes things to operate. And that's okay, right? I would say this is probably the equivalent to like an internship. And especially if there's somebody that wants to be in the industry, man, this is the lick. This is the lick, because I can pretty much guarantee you that the $26,500 is the take-home pay for that person. There are going to be tons of additional benefits. The exposure alone is one. The exposure alone is more valuable than the salary itself. But then you already know that if Glorilla is traveling and she wants that person to be with her at all times, she's going to feed them. She's going to put them up. I'm pretty sure she's going to have some merch, some branded clothing that person's going to have to wear. So that's a tax deduction. So all those other benefits are going to apply as well, right? So you just have to be, like I said, as an employer, you have to be explicitly clear about what you need. And then also being able to walk with that person to educate them on how your organization flows, what your organization, your business culture is, right? You can't assume that they know. Do not assume that they know, right? And then as time progresses, right, those expectations are going to change. We know Glorilla is already famous. She might pivot and do other types of things, right? She might be, the rapping part of her career can only probably go, so long, because, it just is what it is. So you have, as Glorilla is planning long term, and I hope she has a team that is helping her think about her financials long term. I always think about Master P, or Jay-Z, or, y'all call the old heads, but those are rappers that we came up on, that now they're not rapping as much, but they're doing other things with the money that they made, back in the day, right? The investments, being able to do other things like reality TV shows, or Master P got all types of snacks and cereals and stuff like that. He's also doing product and service reviews, which I thought was amazing. I'm gonna try to jump on that and see Master P can give GIP Financials some feedback. I just thought that was amazing. So, if I'm Glorilla, I would definitely be thinking about, those things as well. How long do you want, this assistant to rock with you? Because I know probably in a lot of situations that number 2 spot is critical. Like the Obama-Joe Biden partnership, right? The Oprah and Gail. You need a number 2 that is going to have your back and always have your best interest at heart. And in those situations, you might have to go through a couple of people, right? And especially because she's a celebrity, there's going to be some non-disclosure agreements, a level of confidentiality that has to be maintained, all that stuff like that. So you got to take all of those things into consideration, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. And I would definitely, as far as with the compensation, check in and adjust, because as your demands change, the compensation should reflect that as well. If you need that person more, you should pay them more. If you need them less, you should pay them less. But one thing I will say to Glorilla is that I would dare not allow the folks in the comments to dictate how you hire and manage your employees, right? So whatever, if you find that person and y'all lock in, if you need that person every day, or you need that person for a particular project or whatever, make that clear and y'all stick to that. Because at the end of the day, these folks in these social media streets ain't helping contribute to that unless, maybe they might be buying something or whatever, but you don't report to them. This is your business. And that assistant is going to be very, very critical in how you operate as an artist and how you serve your fans. So you do what you need to do to make sure that you have the support that you need. Every business owner has to be honest with themselves about that. Because if you're hiring people and you're still just as tired, if not even more tired, after you hired that person before, then something ain't gelling. It ain't gelling. Something's going on that needs to be adjusted, right? And it may just be just uncommunicated expectations or unclear expectations. All right. So next thing, let's talk about these fringe benefits. So assuming that Glorilla's entity and her business structure is set up in the state of Tennessee, fringe benefits are optional in the state of Tennessee per employer. So that's one thing. But I would definitely consider whoever Glorilla hires, that there'll be some benefits outside of the obvious with the industry, the travel and the per diems and stuff like that. If it were me, I would definitely say most of those things would be covered under the business. And as far as like if there are any health benefits or anything like that person may need, because I'm thinking that person will probably be in their 20s. If they're over 26, they won't be able to be under their parents for health insurance anymore. So this might be a situation of Obamacare, right? Or some type of low-cost health insurance, because the salary will definitely, allow that person to get then and qualify for that type of insurance, right? So that's definitely something. If I was, Glorilla or best practices for employers, if there are benefits that that you probably can't provide for your people at this time, make sure that you have some resources in place so they can obtain those benefits. Because if an employee is working for an employer that's resourceful and is mindful of what they need, there's a good chance that they're going to stay and rock with you. Right? Okay. And let's talk about the blessed 1099 versus W-2 employee. Now, here's the thing that I was also thinking looking at the TikTok video. So, there's a possibility when the strategy was given about paying that person more and deducting it at 100%, I was thinking maybe were they possibly thinking about putting this person on as a 1099 contractor. I'm here to tell you that with this position, that would not qualify for that. The main difference between the 1099 contract and the W-2 employee is control. Who controls the person performing the duty? If Glorilla needs that person by her side at all times or while she's gigging, that's not a 1099 employee. That's a W-2 employee, which means that person needs to be on payroll, right? If you are a contractor, that's like whoever's doing Glorilla's, like Gorilla has a band, right? And if she's traveling to different cities, she might not use the same band. And they're only helping her for that, period of time that she's in that city. That's a 1099 contractor, right? In my opinion, because that's temporary, right? Thank you for the hearts. With the 1099 contractor, you're paying that person basically to get the job done, how by any means necessary, as the late Malcolm X would say, right? But if you're controlling their schedule, 9 times out of 10, they are not going to be a 1099 employee. Now, granted, you might have some occasional check-ins, right? But outside of that, you don't control how they perform the service and get you the outcome, right? And here's another thing that I also want to talk to employers about regarding 1099 and W-2. Because with my team, I have a mixture of both. And the 1099 contractors that I have on my team, they have businesses, right? So if they're performing work for me and I give them, and they complete a W-9 and they do and I give them a 1099, they have deductions that they can, take care of that with on their taxes. If I have employees or people that are not business, they don't have business, but they still want to work for me, why am I going to stress them out by putting them on as a 1099, and then as life happens in January, February, they get the 1099 and they have this additional income that they have to report on their taxes, and they might have in their mind, oh, I'm going to get this refund, and then that totally destroys their chance of getting a refund. Why would I do that? That, especially like with the younger people, because they might not have that experience. So in that regard, I'm going to pay, the state taxes. And so, especially like for me, for example, I got Tennessee tax, I got South Carolina tax, and I got Arkansas tax that I have to pay. But my people are worth it because they are some fat. You hear me? And so I'm not going to destroy a relationship over, oh, I don't want to pay taxes because it's going to affect my bottom line. That's silly. But then keep in mind too, I have a 9-to-5, so I'm able to do that. That doesn't mean once I, transition, I'm going to flip the script. I'm just very cognizant on the people who I hire and how certain things can affect them, because life happens and you just don't need those type of, not that 10 people aren't thinking about those things, right? So when it comes to W-2 employees, don't just go on and sign up with the unemployment, the Department of Labor, with the state, fill out the paperwork, file them taxes, and be done with it. And everybody would be happily working and getting the job done, right? So I'm getting off my soapbox, but that's that. And then also with the importance of having a team, let me go back one more to the 1099 and stuff. What you don't want to have happen to you as an employer, say for example, if the assistant is on 1099 and the person stops working or can't work anymore, and they get laid off or something like that, and they file unemployment, what's going to happen is they're going to ask that person to list all the employers that they work for a certain period of time. And they're going to list Glorilla or the name of her entity or whatever it is, right? And once it's determined that, like, say, if, Glorilla's entity gets this information from Tennessee Department of Labor that says, hey, this person is filed for unemployment, they can go back and, the employer has to respond, right? But once it's investigated that assistant was actually operating as an employee, a W-2 employee, as opposed to a contractor, not only will that person get unemployment benefits, but then the employer, Glorilla and them, are going to have to pay the Tennessee Department of Labor all those unemployment insurance costs, plus penalties and fees and interest and all that. And that's not what you want to do, right? And especially for, the nature of this job and what's required, that's a W-2 employee. So get you Gusto, QuickBooks Payroll, Glorilla. Do you have accounting software, baby? Please make sure that you have accounting software, that your team, hopefully you have an accounting team, right, that is taking care of your financials for you and is going to put this person on payroll for you. Okay. And then also the importance of having a team, right? There's a difference between, in my opinion, having a team versus having partners, right? So with me, with GIP Financials, we got the position is, right? That's my team. That's my internal personnel that works on the day-to-day operations of said business, that handles, client financials and the like. Our partners are kind of like our super friends, like Bro Tunstall, right, is our preferred tax preparer for GIP Financials. We also have Tyranny, who is a partner with GIP Financials for social media. And then also other, like tax planners, CPAs, things like that we've hired to outsource other tasks for other clients, right? So we have a nonprofit client that's going through an audit right now, and certain functions within the audit needed a CPA. And so we were able to outsource that work to a CPA. So that's the difference between a team and a partner, in my opinion, right? So you get a team are the people that are helping you in the day-to-day operations, in the essence of your business, and then the partners support. They have complementary services that support your business, right? So that's why I talk so much about the 4 financial roles. So also something to consider, who's looking out for self versus looking out for the artist, right? And I know we don't want to talk about said things, but it has to be said. We've encountered a lot of crazy stories, right? I'll talk about Steve Harvey story all the time. Because if it was me, I would have dug homeboy up out the dirt. Would it have helped anything? No. But I'm like, Jones, you better come pay. What we doing? So you have to have somebody that's in your corner that's willing to have those courageous conversations with you and to be comfortable enough to ask you the questions that's necessary, right? Because especially in Steve Harvey's case, him giving signature, he didn't actually give signature access to his CPA accountant tax person. He signed it, gave it to dude, but I guess with that, he cashed the checks or something like that. He got, from the signed check, he accessed the cash and did not file the tax paperwork. My next question is, especially in that situation, how come dude didn't have business insurance? That could have taken care of all of that, especially after the dude had passed away, whoever took over the firm. But anyway, I digress. But you have to have people in your corner. So my prayer for Glorilla is that she has somebody, especially as this assistant, somebody a little older, that could be like an auntie, you know, although they'll be receiving instruction from her, but they'll also be able to exchange some life lessons with her and be able to kind of see past, you know, a lot of just maybe some situations and interactions that she may not be aware of. I always talk about my husband, Rico. He is Liam Neeson because he sees things that I don't see a lot of the time. With most husbands, they normally don't trust people upon first interaction anyway. Um, but he knows because I'm in so many things, he's like my secret service, and I thank God for that every day. So I pray, Glorilla, that you have somebody of similar, character that would help you in that regard. Be somebody that's transparent with you, that can be resourceful, but also you have to be teachable, and also just, remain humble to receive, feedback, right? So, and then, let me see, this is the last part of my notes, but I got another part of my notes right here. The partner's success lies in the transformation of their client, right? With GIP Financials, our secret sauce is fundamental business finance education. If our clients aren't able to talk with the lender and be able to talk through their numbers, I feel like we failed them. If they're not able to at least be able to distinguish the purpose and the functions of the P&L, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement, I feel like we failed them, right? So that's another thing. So Glorilla, if you're listening to this, your partner's success, if you have an accountant, if you have a business manager, if you have a stylist, whoever is performing services for you, their success is going to lie in your transformation and the results that you get and how their services have positively affected you. Excuse me, especially when it comes to finances. If it were me, I would definitely, especially after you've hired, your assistant, I will be asking for monthly reports for payroll. I would have access to that bank, to that checking account. So you can look at the bank statements. And if there's anything on that bank statement, any withdrawal deposit that you're not familiar with, you should ask about it and expect a response. If it comes to like your gigs and you have an expense report or however your systems are set up for that, you need to be very active in that process. Because at the end of the day, I know that comes out of I believe it comes out of your bottom line, right? And so if you already have a set financial goal, right, for your lifestyle, for your personal well-being, then those expense reports and things like that are going to play a very important role in that. So if you see anything on those reports, you're like, what's this for? You need to ask. And if you feel like they're giving you a BS answer, you keep asking. And if they can't give you a response, you get a second opinion. It's as simple as that. Right? And in my videos, the 4 financial roles, where I talk about the bookkeeper, the tax preparer, the tax planner, and the CPA, Glorilla, you need to make sure that every person on your financial team has experience in entertainment, or whatever the proper industry name is called. But if it's down to like Memphis entertainers, Memphis rappers, if there's a CPA that specializes in entertainment and rappers and stuff like that, I will hook up with that person. If you have a tax preparer that specializes in entertainment, I will get with that person. I would ask around, I know you did a song with Cardi B. I would ask Cardi B if she know who her people are and if they operate in the state where your entity is. I'm assuming it's in Tennessee. That's what I would do. Right? Get referrals from the people who you trust in the industry and use those people. right? Because remember I told you before, the partner success is in the transformation of the client. So I think that's applies street cred for whoever that CPA is, whoever that tax person is, whoever that bookkeeper is. If that person's, the bookkeeper or the tax preparer or the CPA to, the well-known rappers, right, that are recent right now. That's an honor and a privilege, right? So I would definitely be, asking about those questions and look. And if you don't know or you don't know where to start, you can reach out to me. I have no problem at least giving you guidance on how to go and where to go and the questions you need to ask and things like that, because without structure, without having proper financial systems in place, you will never see your money. Never. And you don't want to be in a situation, especially with Gloria being 23 years old, those type of situations can be detrimental. It can be traumatizing. Money is already, an icky subject anyway. But just imagine having to go through something catastrophic like that and you're under 30 years old. I couldn't even imagine any of my children having the amount of money that Glorilla has right now. I would be petrified. I would probably say of the 5 kids that we have, I say probably 2 of them could be good stewards of it right now. And yeah. So you really got to have some people in place that you trust and that are going to do right by you. Right? So let me make sure I'm look on my notebook here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Yep, I talked about that. I got everything covered. All right. So that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about. So first things first, if you hear anything about tax strategies and things of the like, make sure you get them vetted by someone that you trust. Y'all send me this stuff so I can look at it and I can do some more stuff so I can be obedient to tyranny, and so I can be real good. So I hope that this helped y'all. If y'all got any questions, like I said, I'm going to stop the live. I'm going to try to download it. I'm going to send it to Tierney so she can post on YouTube. I'm not doing it because I'm going to mess around and do something goofy. But yeah, just send me what you guys are hearing out there in these IG, TikTok streets to see if it's valid or not. And if I don't know, I'm going to ask Bro Thompson. I'm going to ask one of my CPA buddies to see what's going on and if it's actually valid, right? And don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're here to do, right? So again, I hope that this has blessed you and that you have been informed. Like I said, we weren't doing any tea tonight, but I hope that you got your pen and paper and you wrote down some things about what we talked about, because hiring people is important. You're going to eventually need it, but you got to make sure that you hire correctly so you don't have to, worry about anything detrimental financially on the back end. All right. So I hope that you guys, I don't think I'm going to be back on live before Christmas, but have a Merry Christmas, and that I will see you guys sometime next week as we roll on into the new year. All right. Peace.